Brian, I go to you for the National Hunt Chase, grade two, over 3 mile 6. Who do you fancy in here? Daniel was saying just before we started that Raven Hill one here at 12-1 kind of saved a little bit of his Cheltenham last year. And Tiger Roll in 2017. Dan, don't talk through Raven Hill.
Well, Raven Hill was one where I had no real strong opinion on the race. Sometimes you have there's 28 races, you can't have a strong opinion on every, but I was there. Let's back the Codfather against the favourite, against Carefully Selected. And there wasn't far many ones. I gave myself half a case in the form. So I backed him maybe a few minutes before the off, but a few of us got on, was brilliant. But you could Tuesday otherwise was, well, I'd put the kettle on, but all the favourites all my big bets had lost, but those two saved the day. But it just shows you, like, you end up picking a horse 5 minutes before the off, having spent the guts of 6 months, ruin that horse for not being good enough, and then just pick him on the day. But he won very well. Like, Carefully Selected was very disappointing last year, and be interesting. Like, I don't know what you think, Brian, personally, of Galvin as a favourite here. Like, he could almost win by default, in the sense that there aren't too many horses going here at the moment that, like, I don't know if Galvin normally would have the class to win a race like this, but at the moment you kind of struggling to find someone who can beat him.
Yeah, I think the reason why he's probably favoured is his runaway win here in November is probably like the only thing that stands out for a lot of them in this race. I mean, look, Royal Bagai is an entry here, but I don't think he's going to run it. I think they're talking, like, if I was in that camp, it's hard to know what to do. Like, they're talking about running him in the Gold Cup. He's probably a novice good enough to go to the Gold Cup. Obviously, Coney Green won it in 2015. He was the first novice, and I think it was 30-something years to win it. So I think that it's hard to rule out his chances. I think they'll be wasting their time running him in this. He's 5-2 favourite at the moment. I don't think he run. He's a grade one. He's a grade one class horse. I think they'll be wasting. As I said, they'll be wasting their time. But there isn't. Like, I think this is a very good race. I think I backed Raven Hill in this last year as well, and I just think that it's a very, very good race, in the sense that it's a proper test of an ability for an amateur jockey, and it's always a guide to know when especially the week before, when declarations are made, and it's a very good market guide to know who's riding which one, because, like, Jamie Codd has won this 3 times, Paddy Munns has won it twice, Derek O'Connor has won it twice, the 3 top amateurs in England and Ireland. Like, so it's hard to know now which is best. Like, as I said, half of these aren't going to run this race. There's so many horses entered. Like, there's not too many that stand out, apart from maybe a few. Like Galvin, as we went through already, won very impressively in October. Hasn't ran since. Not that wouldn't be a worry, but it's hard to know how a horse can go without a prep run before running in the 3.5 mile novice stay and chase. It depends. It's usually, and obviously it's the last race of the day. If it's wet, it's going to be very sloppy. It's going to be a real fucking dogfight battle between a lot of these. It's going to be a real test of stamina. Obviously, it used to be run over 4 miles. It got reduced a couple of years ago. Like, Next Destination ran here in the Ballymore the year Samco won it, and he was third. And he's run 3 of his 4 races since. I mean, I know he was second at Weatherby behind Roxana over hurdles, which probably reads quite well. He went to Newbury then on Ladbrokes Trophy Day and won over 3 miles. He won a grade 2 novice chase. He won again at Warwick. He beat Fiddler on the Roof. I know that they were small fields, but I mean, he shows the ability that of a stay and chaser, especially in a novice division, that he's a good jumper. He shows good fight up the hill, and I just think that I probably wouldn't back him at 6-1. It depends on, as I said to you, who's going to go for this. The latest exhibition as an entry here, I don't think he'll run it. If I was to back one at the moment in this race, I would probably back a horse at Kim Bailey's called Happy Go Lucky, because she was very, very, she was good when she won here. In December, she won a 3 mile novice chase here in December, and I think that course form in a race like this, like, obviously that's probably the asset that Galvin has in this division. I just think that course form over here, and that December meeting has put out a good few winners in this race. I think Lebroy won in that December meeting before he won this race in 2019. So it's a good guide to this, but this is wide open. Like, I mean, you could make a case here for 20 of these. It's very hard at the moment to narrow it down to 5 or 6,
I think you make an interesting point there about it being the last race of the day. It always seems to kind of throw up a bit of a curveball. Dan, what's your take on what Brian just said?
Yeah, I'm actually not in a rush to have a bet on this. Similar to that Raven Hill thing, like, I think it's on the night before declarations are in. You know what's running. Royal Pahal can definitely change the whole market here if he runs. But interesting, you mentioned Happy Go Lucky. If you draw a line through Hold the Note, I don't know how well or how revved up he was for the December, but if you draw a line, like, Galvin would finish second ahead of Hold the Note in Cheltenham. and Happy Go Lucky beat him further in Cheltenham in December now, so 15 lengths, and that's not always how the way it works. But for example, Happy Go Lucky is a 20-1 shot, and Galvin's a 4-1. So I do think there's a lot of hype around Galvin. He did finish second in that very good novice handicap chase at the festival last year with Imperial Aura. That Imperial Aura won, and Galvin was well fancied that day. And he has gone. I wouldn't be worried about the fresh angle in the sense that he did go fresh to Cheltenham last year, ran a really good race, so that wouldn't put me off. But I do think at the moment it's probably a bit tad short. You don't know what the field is going to be yet. There are a lot of horses in around. Like Happy Go Lucky's just one that Brian picked out there, and already we've kind of made a small argument there on drawing a line through a horse like Holding Out that you can make a case that each way that's a good bet. So it's definitely a race I'm waiting on the day to back. So I wouldn't get stuck in now, but I'd be keeping an eye on and seeing what the trainers are saying in terms of their targets. Because if you know someone's going to run here, maybe at a 20-1, a 25-1, then maybe on the day you could be sitting at a 12-1 shot potentially. But yeah, for me, it's a race I'm kind of leaving to on the day. But while Galvin is solid, I do think he's a bit short at the moment. But if some horses don't run, you could make a case he shortens up. But for me, I personally am staying away for it till on the day. But I wouldn't put anyone off Brian's share there and Happy Go Lucky there.
It could, it might save Gordon Elliott's day though if Galvin does win, because it's looking very dominant of a Willie Mullins, Nicky Henderson